Are you preparing for GMAT, or you're just planning to start your GMAT journey? There are two things that we require to prepare for GMAT. One is the skill set, which is the knowledge and the right approach. Second is the right mindset. In this video, I'll talk about the 5 mindsets required to score 700 plus on GMAT. Hi, my name is Mandeep. I'm a GMAT coach and founder of GMAT Mantra. The number one mindset that you require for GMAT preparation is to understand that GMAT is not an exam of knowledge. GMAT is an exam of language. So if you look at verbal, in verbal, 66.66% paper is based on understanding of language. We have reading comprehension, we have critical reasoning. Both the sections are entirely dependent on understanding the language. And even if I look at sentence correction, sometimes you have to understand the meaning. So when you're understanding the meaning, that means you're understanding the language. So when you're preparing for GMAT, keep your focus on how you can understand the language, or how can you break the language. And even in quant, you would see that though we need the basics in quant, but all the difficult questions are difficult because of the language, not of the concepts. So I would say 80% of GMAT is dependent on your ability to break the language. So focus on the language rather than improving your knowledge. That's number one. Number two, you have to understand that GMAT is an adaptive test. So adaptive means when you get a question right, the next question will be of higher weightage and a bit more difficult. And if you're getting questions right back to back, that means with each question the weightage is increasing. So in GMAT, I've seen students are they rush because they want to get all the questions correct. You don't have to get all the questions correct to score 700 plus. For example, in verbal we have 36 questions. Though you have to attempt all the questions, there's no doubt in that. But what I normally suggest to my students is that focus on 30 questions and try to get around 90% accuracy. So out of 30 questions, if they get 27 questions right, understand they are getting questions right back to back. So they are bound to score higher. Or for the last 6 questions, simply I ask them to mark anything so that they can complete the section. And same goes for quant. So when you're giving your GMAT, or maybe when you are giving the mock tests, or you're preparing giving the quizzes, whenever you do that, always focus on accuracy rather than getting all the questions correct, because you don't have to get all the questions correct to score 700. Third mindset that you need to know is that if you are aware, if you have talked to somebody who has given GMAT, they will tell you that they were getting good score in the mock tests, but they failed to get the similar score in the exam. Remember, nothing changes in the exam. The only thing changes is the anxiety level of the student. So I have students who score around, let's say 740, 750, even 780 during the mock tests. But in the actual GMAT, their score fall to around 600, 620, 640. What happens exactly? See, GMAT will not give you some difficult question on a specific day. Because there are students, if you are sitting in the center, there are 10 people. So there will be 2 or 3 people who scored 700 plus and you scored 600. So automatically GMAT will not be partial towards you, that they will give you the difficult questions to you and easy questions to someone else. The only difference is the anxiety levels. The person who can stay calm during the exam. When you're calm, you can focus. So when you can focus, what you read, you can understand. But if you're reading but you're not able to comprehend what you're reading, probably you'll not be able to solve it. And this is what happens with maximum students. So you have to understand that anxiety is a habit. Whenever the stakes are high, we start getting anxious. Now, a little bit anxiety is good. because that keeps you alert. But if you're too anxious that you get freezed, or you're not able to understand what you're reading, that is not good, because irrespective how much practice you do, because in the mock test you are getting pretty good scores, but you fail to get the same scores in the exam, what will you do? So when you start your GMAT preparation, along with your knowledge, focus on how you can control your anxiety. Everybody is aware that I get anxious in the stressful situations, but we don't take it seriously. We can say, okay, I have the knowledge, it doesn't matter if I get anxious. No. If you have knowledge, but if you get anxious, it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have, you will not be able to get the score. And that happens with majority of the students. So make sure when you're preparing for GMAT, along with your knowledge, you focus on how to control your anxiety, how you can stay calm during the stressful situation. So there are ways. Start exploring and understand it's a habit which you can change over a period of 3 to 4 months. And normally students prepare for GMAT for around 6 months or maybe 1 year. So if you just focus on how to control your anxiety in 1 year, probably when you prepare for the GMAT, you'll be pretty relaxed, because you know how to stay relaxed during the stressful situation. So that's the third mindset that you need to understand. The fourth, they're more related to your practice. So when you start your GMAT preparation, we have this habit, we believe that, the more practice you do, better you get. It doesn't work in GMAT. Okay. So when you practice, most of the students, have this focus of, somehow getting the answer. Because if you're somehow getting the answer, probably you will not develop or focus on mastering the approach. And if you don't have the right approach under time pressure, understand, because you have to perform under time pressure. Under time pressure, if you don't have a standard way of solving the question, you will go haywire, because there will be, stakes are high, then there is a time pressure and you're anxious. So over there, you have to have the right ways to solve the questions. You should have a habit of solving a certain type of question a specific way. And there is a specific way to solve each type of question in GMAT. So when you're practicing, focus on solving the question with the right approach. So for example, if you study for 30 minutes, in 30 minutes, don't think of doing 10 questions. Think of doing only 2 questions and give 15 minutes to each question. So when you're practicing, focus on the mastering the right approach rather than doing more questions. And the last, when you're practicing questions, so definitely you'll get some questions wrong, some questions correct. So when you get a question wrong, what happens? We seek explanation to those questions from different sources. And one major source is GMAT Club. So when you practice and when you get a question wrong, don't seek explanation to that question from any source. Solve that question yourself. Because till you don't solve the question yourself, you will not feel confident about that particular